Find some of the images in this film disturbing right from the very start.
Scarred for life.
My chest was covered in red burn marks that looked a bit like, you know, when you brand an animal.
The botched operation.
I'm in pain. Help. Can somebody help me?
And the toxic overdose.
If I'd taken the whole syringe, the doctor said to me that it could have been fatal.
According to new figures backed by the Department of Health, 1.5 million cosmetic procedures will be undertaken in the UK this year. Many of them will be bargain price, quick fix treatments done in the lunch hour or even at parties. But as demand for cheap cosmetic surgery has risen, safety standards have fallen with lethal consequences.
When Charlotte Crips noticed her skin aging, she decided to try a special course of therapy that uses shots of high-frequency light to smooth the complexion.
The technician went over my face and my chest with a sort of handheld machine, but when she did my chest, the pain was absolutely excruciating. I did keep stopping her and she kept carrying on. I left the department store and I got home within about 20 minutes and I looked in the mirror and I screamed.
These photos were taken just 24 hours after Charlotte's first and only treatment.
I couldn't put a duvet over me or anything because it was just so raw and painful.
Charlotte's agony lasted several months. She received an out-of-court settlement from the insurers of the spa, but it's little compensation.
I'm still left with scarring, so I have to live with that.
Providing you deliver proper training in the use of these devices, they can be perfectly safe and give excellent results to people. Where you don't do that, you run into trouble.
Godfrey has spent the last decade training people to use light therapy safely at the Welbeck Hospital near Harley Street. But recently his services have been less in demand. 3
years ago I would have trained around 140 people. That number this year has dropped to 55. I think we're going to see a lot more problems coming with people claiming that they've been treated in a poor way at the hands of not properly trained people.
Despite the potential danger to the public, last year the Department of Health approved the deregulation of the IPL and laser industry.
I think the government have got it wrong. I think it's a bad idea. I think we need these regulations just to protect the public.
Heidi is a permanent makeup artist. She has prided herself on the service that she gives to women recovering from illnesses like cancer and alopecia. But in the last year, things have changed.
Now I'm finding more and more it's a lot of corrective treatments for people that have had cosmetic treatments that have gone wrong.
Many of Heidi's clients and hundreds of others have been left scarred by untrained therapists working in high street outlets. Hairdressers, dentists, even supermarkets are cashing in on the trend for cheap cosmetic treatments. But there's an even bigger danger on the web.
There are literally hundreds of unregulated sites offering treatments at knockdown prices. You can buy DIY Botox, injectable tanning solutions. You can even book yourself in for an operation. Most of the products and treatments are not licensed for sale in the UK, but online they're all available. No questions asked.
When Essex hairdresser Gary bought an injectable serum online, he was hoping to get a tan at a fraction of the price that a holiday would cost.
The product is, I suppose, tanning from the gods. You know, you inject yourself over a gradual time. You build up that melanin in your system, which is the ingredient that makes you brown.
Tanning injections are illegal in the UK due to concerns about their potential side effects, but Gary thought it was worth the risk.
I'm going to speak quite freely about it. I had heard that it was illegal. I just wanted to be brown.
And what happened when it arrived?
Went into the bathroom and, yeah, just pinched the skin on my stomach and injected.
20 minutes later, Gary realised he'd made a big mistake.
A fever came over me very, very quick. It was like the flu hitting you in one big shot. Your legs ached, your bones ached. When the paramedics came and they checked over me, they said, you're burning up.
Gary was rushed to hospital where a specialist eventually ascertained the best way to treat him.
If I'd taken the whole syringe, the doctor said to me that it could have been fatal. It took about a week in total before I was actually feeling well enough to come back to work.
The illegal sale of cosmetics and medicines online is estimated to be worth at least £50 million per year in the UK. Danny leads the team who have an uphill battle trying to close this black market.
What we've got here is some suspect product. It's a slimming product. This is very dangerous. Anybody who's taking it will be subject to heart palpitations, increased risk of stroke.
Earlier this year, Danny's team were involved in a global operation to seize £5 million worth of illegal medicines and cosmetics.
One of our partners in the operation was the Metropolitan Police e-crime unit, and they actually closed down 12,500 websites. We're seeing more and more unscrupulous individuals engaged in this who see consumers in the UK in particular as an easy target.
When people damage their health through online products or botched treatments, they usually turn to the NHS for help. But the demand on the health service is now so high, there is a growing concern about the drain on resources and cost to taxpayers.
The question about how big a problem this is for the NHS is very difficult to answer because we don't really have specific figures. But if 1% go wrong and have to be sorted out by the NHS, that's an awful lot of patients.
I feel ashamed that I'm using the money, the cost of surgeons, one after another.
Jim, who wishes to remain anonymous, turned to the NHS when his cosmetic surgery went drastically wrong.
I had an extremely tight scrotum, and I had been speaking to quite a number of people via various chat lines, forums, that people are now having silicone injected into their scrotum just to give more weight and volume.
When Jim discovered that he could improve his appearance for just £130, he booked an operation online with a man claiming to be a qualified nurse.
When he did the operation, it was very simple, straightforward, there was no discomfort.
It was only months later when problems began.
I noticed that the silicone seemed to start to harden. I went back to the guy, I spoke to him, and he didn't want to know.
Jim had actually been injected with industrial silicone. Embarrassed, he rarely left home for 3 whole years before he sought help from the NHS.
It was like a stone, hard piece of stone of the dimension of about that big. I was hoping to take probably 50–60%, but eventually we managed to probably take about 80 to 90% of the volume of silicone. It is unlikely that Jim would ever be completely cured.
Mr. Orlando is one of the UK's top plastic surgeons. If Jim had been a private patient, his treatment would have cost tens of thousands of pounds. There is now a growing campaign to ensure tighter regulation of cosmetic treatments in the UK.
Whether online or in our high streets, there's a growing number of rogue practitioners exploiting our vanity. But be warned, quick, cheap cosmetic fixes can seriously damage your health.